Hi everyone, I'm Emma from Let Em Guide You, the mess, the magic and everything in between. Whew. So I have been procrastinating this journey for a very long time, and the journey I'm referring to is just getting started. They say there's no better time to plant a tree than yesterday. The next best time is today. So I'm going to take you on my very raw, unfiltered journey of life in the day-to-day and sharing parts of my life with you for how I have gotten to this place where I am currently, what has shaped me, what I've learned, what I have stuck for words. And this is where I want to kind of just hit the stop and start again and try to make it perfect. But there is no such thing as perfection. Perfection is authenticity and showing up as we are. You know, for so many years, I wouldn't even show up like this. I literally just waxed my eyebrows and I haven't washed my hair for a week. Not that you can smell, but if smell had a smell through the video here, bit of sweat. So I'm just showing up very, very authentically. Look, I have been online in the past and you know, I had prime opportunities for followings, having been in tourism for many years, and you know, I met people from all around the world. But as it turns out, you know, sometimes we start in a particular direction, not truly knowing what that journey is going to unpack for us. And what I'm referring to is, and I can share these over segments, but just in brief, was, you know, heeding to that inner calling of just dissatisfaction with the 9-to-5 life. This is so many years ago now. I'm nearly 43, and this particular moment in time was a week after my 18th birthday. So anyway, long story short, following that calling, not really knowing what it was all about, but how that's unfolded for me, where it has taken me, what I've learned about myself, what I've unlearned about myself, what I'm still unlearning about myself. And little did I know that this adventurous life in tourism was going to be the catalyst for deep connections with humans from around the world, learning about my country, the countries within this country, having a strong affinity and connection with nature and culture, and you know, having the most incredible experiences with elders that have now passed away, the wisdom that was transmitted in the non-verbal to, you know, so yeah, having big followings, and then all of a sudden in a saboteur, shut it all down, push everyone away, become invisible, shrink. And these will be woven into the stories throughout about my journey and my learned behaviors and my protectors, the parts within me. So just hinting at a little bit there of like my birth story and how that's playing out in my life. Yeah, so yep, showing up, cutting off, showing up. So expansion and contraction, and yeah, numerous times. And then fast forwarding to a few years ago, again, I had a bit of a following happening, and you know, this whole journey, it's like, am I doing it for me, or am I doing it to get numbers, to seek validation, to, you know, prove my worth? And there is nothing out there that can change this inner story except me spending time with me and my parts that have become fragmented through trauma. And yeah, it's not about that. So anyway, here I am in the now. The date is, I'm not quite sure. I feel like it's a bit of a blur because I've just had I think since middle to late May off by choice. Again, more stories can be woven into this around burnout and walking away from toxic workplace cultures. Also not negating, you know, how my own perception, projection could be placed into that space, but nonetheless having a lot of time off. So anyway, I'm a little bit lost in time. I got back in Feb in Australia, and interestingly, I haven't lived in Adelaide for a very long time, so again, more stories to be woven into this. I've spent a lot of time up north. I'd been in Darwin was the last location, but before that, many years in Cape York. So yeah, last year when I quit my job, I drove all the way back to Adelaide and stored my gear, went abroad. I've come back, and had I left immediately when I came back, I would have avoided floods. I would have avoided this fuel inflation through war. And anyway, it is what it is. And it's very interesting how I have a very flexed mind, like muscle of the mind of, this, creating bounce back strategies, safety, or like this false sense of safety and security. And interestingly, I have a job to go to up in North Queensland. It's not glamorous, it doesn't have the titles, and nor does it have like a massive pay attached to it. But I'm choosing slowness while I traverse a 14-month somatics training with the Somatic Institute. And I'm just choosing, that cooling. Anyway, in this, uprising of obstacles and logistical nightmares and a lot more money to transport myself from one destination to the other, there is actually a quiet and subtle trusting in this path, but yet this mind, it's been pulling me into applying for other jobs with the title, with the high salary, and for me it's latching on and going, okay, I can get back on top after spending this amount of time off of work. And in my heart of hearts, I know those jobs aren't for me anymore. I know they're not designed to function. They are not there to serve holistically, for a positive workplace culture, for everyone to be plugging in together to thrive as a very healthy ecosystem. So interestingly, despite the fact I've interviewed for them, but I've withdrawn, and I've actually gone back to this path of trusting in getting myself back up to North Queensland at double the cost of fuel now, maybe no fuel. I'm taking the risk, and it feels very vulnerable, of course. It's interesting how, let's say 20 years ago, yeah, there would be nerves and all the things, anxiety, fear, but not to this extent. Again, I still have this subtle trust and calmness underneath, but I'm impacted in the psyche of, everyone's, and rightfully so, the concerns of where we're going in this world. There's so much that I can talk about here. I know that my mind, and this is the mind of complex trauma, so hopefully you're with me. For me, I've withdrawn from the other jobs, and I'm just going to trust in the obstacles. And yes, there's fear and all the things, but I just have to navigate it as I go. But what I wanted to say when talking about these very real things that are emerging, I'm sure we're all feeling it, is like these massive grief for all of humanity and all life on this earth, and the destruction of the very mother that feeds us, our food, our water, our shelter. Lots to talk about here. Regarding the fuel thing, again, it's like, oh, well, this is going to change things. There's also that other whisper in me, which is a little bit of a battle, because it's kind of like, okay, ideally, I don't necessarily want to get stuck here where I am in regional South Australia. I want to kind of be close to my community and my beautiful sisters and the places that I adore, and I'm really fueled by nature. And at the same time, I'm like, this is an opportunity for humanity to pivot, because we do not have finite resources. And while we're talking about war that is impacting global supplies, despite this, it is a wake-up call. Once again, the COVID, if that wasn't enough for a bit of a wake-up call, and how we're, going about life and what we're taking advantage of and taking for granted, and, when the world kind of stops, nature has this intelligence to bounce back. And, I just think we can't keep sustaining this just go, never stopping. The impact, global impact of, what we're doing to our earth, and, all of us running on empty. Like, we are essentially becoming hollow and so burnt out. Like, I could burst into tears right now because, I've spent my life in what I thought that I had to do of society's ideologies, even though I've always kind of been against it as well. But it's like, the whole do more, prove yourself, like work hard, be burnt out. It's like this pride badge of honor. And it's not serving us. It's not serving us individually, like, individual health crisis, mental health crisis, collective crisis, like, we see the impact again and the destruction, as if nature's not yelling and screaming at us to go, stop. We need you to slow down and breathe and listen. And this is what the elders, the old people from communities and cultures around the globe have been saying forever. To be quiet. Up in Google Yalanji country, the old people would say, you Google bugger, you talk too much. It's like the kookaburra. Admittedly, I have had a strong coffee today, so I'm a little bit more fueled with caffeine. But that said, I know that we need to slow down. We need to slow down so that we can hear. There is a big distinctive split, the mind and body. And for me personally, I can speak about this for days, of how being in the mind has served me for safety's sake, because it was never safe to be in this body and express myself authentically. And I'm sure many of you can relate to this. But we're doing ourselves a disservice, and our earth, the very thing that sustains us, a disservice by not listening. We might have the soma, the body, is talking to us in movement, in vibration, in energy, in sound. And are we really listening? Or are we overriding that by keeping ourselves busy, keeping ourselves numb, scrolling? And I'm far from perfect. I find myself doing the same thing, especially in not the healthiest scenarios. And my way to manage that, if you like, is to numb out. However, I know that I can uproot myself, and I do. And I make sure that I get out and I go for a walk and I'm around nature, like pure nature, undisturbed, feeling the wind, feeling the sun penetrate into my skin, smelling the smells of nature, hearing the sounds of the variety of birds, or the rustling of lizards or snakes or any kind of animal moving around me. That is tuning in and turning on to our soma, our sensory being of aliveness. And so I take that exhale. Yeah. So here I am in episode number 1. Let's see how long I can keep this going for. I am about to get on the road tomorrow, if all goes accordingly. Fuel has now hit almost $3 a litre for diesel. So again, it's going to cost me double to get to my destination. And not only that, I'm going to have to navigate what roads are open to get up to North Queensland. And, you know, I'm going to have to wait it out. If fuel supply is out at service stations, then I have to just navigate that. But right now I'm sitting in a region I don't want to be in. I've been very fortunate in my life, and I feel like I'm still fortunate, and maybe at this time I still may be able to get from A to B. But again, in my ideal wishes, it would be to be in that nature that I know really nourishes me, and to be around a community of like-minded humans who are all really fueling in this energy now to really look at how do we pivot, how do we slow down collectively, how do we dance, how do we move, how do we breathe, how do we connect authentically, you know, authentic relating. So I really want to be in these places. I want to be eating off the land. I want to be eating that food that is organically grown and nurtured, you know, from my backyard. So welcome, and thank you for joining me. And I look forward to taking you on this adventure in my old girl, my 2002 Toyota Prado, who I need to give a shout out to my dear friend Ralph from Germany, who parted ways with this vehicle and offered me this vehicle in 2023 at a significantly less price than what he could have got for it on the market at that time, just while there was still a big inflation around cars, just after all the COVID stuff. So I have to just a big shout out to Ralph. Your car is still being well looked after. She's cost me a lot of money and it's going to cost me a lot more to get back into North Queensland, but I'm really grateful. And she's well looked after, and yeah, I look forward to, you know, taking you with me. Let him guide you, the mess, the magic, and everything in between. Thanks so much, and take care. Mwah.